Hello everyone. Doing a video here of how I do the Mean Streets mission in Night of Shadows Everquest. I three box it. I don't get all of the achievements with this. Specifically, I don't get cut off the head. Um, I've yet to try that. I really don't think the mercenary tank can tank that, and my Shadow Knight isn't up to tanking that yet either, especially not with mercenary clerics. So, but it does get it through it. You get the coins, you get the AAs, and all that stuff. So people have asked how I do some of this stuff, three boxing. So that's what these are about. So what do I have for those who don't know me? I've got myself. Well, actually, they're all myself. What am I talking about? I've got the view you'll have is Lotalag, level 120 ranger. He has with him a level 120 cleric mercenary that all the AAs are done, as are he's at max AAA as well. The ranger is. All the AAs are done for the mercenaries, as well as I have all pieces of vigilant soother gear for this mercenary. We have Gaga, Lady Gaga, beauty that she is my level 120 shaman. She has all of her AAs completed. Sorry, back to Lotta for a moment. He's about 60-70% raid equipped. The rest of it's phantasmal. He's only got like one or two pieces of the apparitional raid gear. The other's the regular drop raid gear. Gaga is 100% raid equipped. Probably 70% apparitional, has a few pieces to go yet. The rest of it's being the other stuff. She's 120 shaman, has all of her AAs, has all of her mercenary AAs. She has with her, as always, her lovely pet, Mongrel, which is just your shaman pet, and a mercenary tank. Again, she has all the AAs. She has three pieces of the Vigilant Defender gear, which is the tank gear, one Vigilant Assassin's gear. I need to get back and do some more camping and get the good gear. And lastly, we have name, surname, very creative name. He is a 120 Shadow Knight, does not have all his AAs done. He's relatively new. I only created this character back in April of 2023, a couple of months ago. It's now September. He's getting there, but he's got a ways to go. He has a couple pieces of raid gear from having gotten it for alts during raids, but he is mostly phantasmal gear. Everything's at least phantasmal on him, though. He, of course, has his pet, the wimpy SK skeleton, nowhere near as good as a lot of the other pets out there. And he also has a level 120 cleric merc. I'm not sure how this happened. I looked at his merc gear a little bit ago. He actually has extravagant assassin's gear, so I definitely need to get him better gear so his merc can heal better. But basically, the Ranger's Cleric Merc is as good as you can get because it has all the AAs and the best gear. The Shaman's is almost as good as you can get. Has a top level gear, but he's one of the pieces meant for the different type of mercenary, and the SKs leaves a little bit to be desired still. So I play in first person view, so we're going to go back to that view so I can be with what I'm used to. And there's my windows. Alright, so the first thing I do, I can't remember if I did this yet or not, so I'm going to do it again, is I run through and I look at all of the jacks. That one's a fake jack, you can tell because he's got that glimmering illusion. That is spot 1. This is spot 2. Again, we have a glimmering illusion. Spot 3, glimmering illusion. That means the real one is to be at spot 4. And the reason I don't remember is I started talking to somebody right before I started this. Yep, and I had already gone out. Normally I would do this before I started the video, and as turns out I did. I come out, here's the real one at spot 4. I mark NPC 1 for him. That way when they shift around, it's easy for me to tell which one the real one is. Both the one there in front of his name, plus it keeps that target reticle around him. So let's get back to our group. And I'll turn off the map here in a minute because I don't really need it to move around here. But I'm going to point out a couple of things as I do this, or before I actually really get started. Okay, so I will be referring to things, and I've also heard people call them A, B, C, and D. I'm referring it to as spot 1, spot 2, spot 3, spot 4. It's what I'm used to. It's what my guild calls them. It's just my habit. If you think of it as A, B, C, D, if you think of it as, you know, the the west spot, the middle south, middle north, east, however you want to think about it, I don't care. I'm going to call them 1, 2, 3, 4. So spot 1 is here. I'm going to pull the thugs from there to where we are now. One will get baned with slow, the other one we kill. Spot 2, same thing. I'm going to pull the thugs to here. One gets baned, one we kill. We're then going to come up, head a little bit to the northeast, and set up right about here. I'm then going to pull the thugs from spots 3 and spot 4. I don't know what makes me decide which order to do them in each time, but I'll grab one and then I'll grab the other. It doesn't matter which. Bring them to the group. We kill that, bane one, kill one, and then we're left with nothing but the 4 jacks. While we do that portion, a lot of lag is going to be marked as both the main assist and the puller, and the mercenary tank is going to be marked as the main tank. So that when I come running up with those jacks, or sorry, with the thugs, the mercenary gets aggro, I hit slow on my shaman, and we take care of business. Once they're all dead, I'm going to turn off puller so that the mercenary healer stays with my ranger, and I turn off main tank. The reason I do that, I do leave it on assist, is once we get to the final one and the illusions and the tigers start showing up, if I take him off of main tank, he doesn't try and take myself off of puller. I keep my cleric with me, and the mercenary tank doesn't try to get aggro on everything in the zone. It only worries about what I'm targeted on. So he leaves those illusions and tigers alone. The illusions and tigers might get a couple. Well, the illusions definitely will get a couple of hits in. The tigers might get a hit in, but I slow the tigers with the shaman. They poof. The illusions, I also slow them just because that's how I do it. And they'll normally wind up on the Shadow Knight, sometimes on another character that can take a couple of hits until it disappears on its own. So I basically just want the mercenary to be focused only on the boss. Now, after I pull the thugs from 3 and 4, depending on where the real jacks and fake jacks are at that point, and I may have to go and look to see, determines where I pull first, but I'm generally going to pull 3 and 4. We're going to kill those fake ones, leaving a real at 1 and 2 or a fake at 1 and 2, and that's all that's left. I then move all the way back to spot 1, wait until there's a fake one there, and kill it, leaving the real one for the bait fight here at spot 2. Reason I do that is once that happens, I put on my track, and I track him. I'll be facing at that point to the north. I'll be against the wall here. They'll be fighting it right about here. Once the illusions come up around 35%, we continue to beat him down to 22%, and he hit points logs. A little bit after that, he will disperse and go to where one of those illusions was. Well, I've got track up. I'm facing north in that position. If he's straight ahead, he's at spot 3. If he's to my left, he's at spot 1. If he's to my right, he's at spot 4. Actually, I think it's going to say I head into the right. Regardless, I know exactly where he is to go there. If he goes to 1 or 4, the next time when he's down at 7%, I won't be able to tell right off the bat exactly where he is. If he goes to spot 3, I will be able to by the same process of elimination. But it's just how I like to do it. To me, it's the smartest way to do it. When we're doing that fight, the SK doesn't engage at all. He may cast a couple of dots. He may send in his pet, but he doesn't actually start hitting on the boss. He just stands there, and I will, as ads come in, I'll hit his AE hate things to pull them onto him instead of letting them beat up the clerics and that kind of stuff. The DPS isn't my concern. The amount of time it takes me isn't my concern. It's getting it completed successfully is what concerns me. So I go ahead and I let him take his time. I do have him for this event to begin with because I will have him do some killing on the fake jacks. I have him with his 2-hand weapon, which does more damage. Once we get down to the real one, I'll switch him to his 1 hand and a shield, so that as he takes it, and or if the merc tank happens to go down, that he becomes the tank, he's more capable of tanking that way. Um, so anyway, without further ado, then I can get this thing started. Well, a little bit of further ado, I go ahead and I'm going to cast Melancholy, which procs a 25% slow and a potential for a heal on you when you get hit by something. So I put that on everybody. Partly because with the thugs, it could despawn them, which is always fun. With the real ones, it's just if something gets summoned that's not and it's not slowed, it gives you a chance to get a little bit of slow on it until everybody else can get there. Obviously, when I can, I'll get the shaman out there to get the 70% slow on it instead. I also put on my merc tank Fervent Growth, which is a hit point buff, temporary hit point buff that declines over time, and I put Adamant Stance, which is the same thing, SK self buff on the SK, just because why not give ourselves as many hit points as possible. So now we're ready to go. Oh, I'm trying to emote defeat, which isn't a legitimate thing. There we go. Now it's live. So I come over to that first set of thugs, stay back a little bit, target. I use my Skull of Null here to pull them. It does an annul magic effect or spell on them, and which is a pretty nice little item to get. And it does very little hate, so it's very easy to pull them off of me. It's not like I do something that really pisses them off. So, oh, there we go. Annul magic, and it also does no damage when you're pulling stuff that summons. They come at me. The merc, or the jack, of course, leashes. There we go. Let's get him targeted. I've now got the SKs hitting there with his two-hander, if you want to look. I may as well send in his pet as well. I hit my assist key, which sends in the pet, but unfortunately I didn't have it targeted with the ranger when I did that, because he'd originally targeted the one that improved. So again, at this point, I'm not really worrying about how high my DPS is, how long this takes. There are no time constraints to this until you get to where it's just the live one left, or not the live one, the real one left. Then you have like 15 seconds from the time the last fake jack dies to engage, or it resets. Same thing when the illusions are up and he moves into one of the illusion spots later on in the event. If once he moves, you got like 15 seconds to engage it. He may or may not summon anything. If you summon something, you're great, because then summon he's engaged. Otherwise, again, you got like 15 seconds to get to him. That's why it sucks when he's at spot 1 or 4, and if he goes all the way to the other one. And then you've got that possibility with doing auto follow that something gets stuck somewhere and you wind up running out of time getting to it. It had to happen a few times. So first thug is now about dead. On to the next set of thugs. You'll see my Gina triggers going off, or hear my Gina triggers going off here as the bosses move around. You'll hear a boss swaps places in 15 seconds. Trigger. That actually is not accurate. I know that the guy who set up the triggers for my guild,
boss swaps places.
There it is. He sets them up specifically for the raids. Now I don't know if the timing is different on the raids, or it could just be, it's like 1 minute and 42 seconds these guys set at. It could be that he'll never swap any shorter of a time than 1 minute 42, and once the timer's up, he could swap at any moment. I'm not sure how that works, and it's fine that it's not perfect. All I know is it gives me that 15-second thing, so I know he may be going soon. And typically it's like 30 seconds after the actual timer, which you can't see on this screen. Once the actual timer ends, it's typically within about 30 seconds that he truly swaps places. Now, like I said, he had been at spot 4. He's now moved. I don't know where he is. And with the way I do this, it doesn't matter where he is at this point. This is the second set of jacks, so I'm going ahead and setting characters to auto follow. He's far enough down that I'm going to go ahead and put the SK on auto follow now as well. Don't ask me why, but I do always invis for this move. I'm sure it does nothing because this jack sees invis, and that's the real one this time too. But for some reason it seems like he aggroes me less when I have invis on. It's probably not true at all, but I get that feeling, so that's what I do. Call me crazy. So I move up to here, which again I'll show you better on the map where I am. Here's 3, 4's up there. I move to right here. And the shaman and the SK stop following. I'm going to turn off the map now. And I pull in the set from spot 3. Sometimes I do spot 4 first. It really doesn't make a difference. They come running. The jack will leash. And we'll bane one and kill one. Okay, this time I was on the right one. I didn't have to worry about switching targets. I've seen a couple of glitches happen on this particular event at various times. One of the ones I did have is it was the real jack. I think it was here at spot 3. Might have been a different spot, doesn't really matter. But the real jack was there. He didn't chain like he normally does. He got further along and took enough damage that he started summoning me. From like this spot to where he normally is, where he should have been long chain. I just kicked the task and started over, so weird things do happen sometimes. I've had it where, like, I don't know if I mentioned this being or not. Like, the first thing I do is I go out and I find where the real one is and mark him. I've had it where 2 of them were real and that they didn't have that glimmering illusion effect on them. Whether one was actually real or not, I have no clue. I just went ahead and kicked it. Another time, before I started checking first, I'd just go and find where the real one was to mark him. I came up, nothing had done damage to me from pulling, and I wound up with 2 of them that didn't have that effect. Oh, actually, I wasn't even marking them. And then things got all screwed up. Like, I got none of the illusions, and I had him down to like 20 or 25, 26%. None of the illusions had spawned, but I was getting tigers left, right, and center. Like, something was screwy with that one. So, again, actually, that one I wound up wiping and then kicking and doing again. So, anyway, so here come the thugs from spot 4.
Boss swaps places in 15 seconds.
Boss swaps places. Good boss. Alright. I'm just going to check really quick, see where he... that's the real, or a fake one. There's a fake at 3 and 4 right now. Depending on exactly when he swaps, if he swaps in the right timing where he's like just swapped as I'm finishing this up, I'll look at 3, and if there's a fake one at 3, we'll kill it first. Otherwise, we'll move over to 4 and wait until a swap happens. Now, hopefully the real one then isn't at 4, because then we're stuck waiting. Well, no, because then that'd be a fake one at 3, so we're good. If the real one's at 3, we'll move to 4 and wait. And then, knowing my luck, the real one will then move to 4, which means waiting even longer. But it's just the way it goes. The main thing is I want to wind up with a real one. The real one for the initial fight with real is going to be, and I'm going to have to wait regardless because of the timing here most likely, but I want a real one to be sitting in spot 2 when the last fake one dies. That's where I like to do that fight, as I mentioned earlier, because of tracking. I think I mentioned it earlier anyway. Go ahead and turn Shadow Knight back to following. just see who's where. We have fake at 3. I'm hoping. Oops, Shaman's not following. I'm hoping the real one is at 4. Or if he's not, I'm hoping when it does his next swap, it doesn't come to 4. Because then I've got to wait again for a fake one to get here. It is a fake one here now, so it is possible that when this next swap happens in a minute or so that I get another, or I get a real one here, in which case I have to sit through another swap rotation while I wait for the real one to show up, or the fake one to show up again. If that does happen, and you may not hear this anyway because I'll have truncated things, I'll try and move some, or try and delete some out of the middle of it so you don't have these big long pauses of me just sitting here thumbing my butthole. Someone said that during one of our raids not that long ago, and it stuck with everybody. Everybody thumbing their buttholes. I'm refreshing Melancholy on everybody now because I've got some time. Normally I do this during the last fake jack / the first round with the reel, but I've got some time right now, so I'm going ahead and refreshing that stuff. Obviously, because I'm talking through it and I explained things before I even started, this takes longer this way, or this is taking longer than it normally takes me. I will say right now, my way is not fast. It gets it done, but it is not a fast way to do it. When I do it with other people in groups, even if I'm boxing on it, where we've got a real healer, a real cleric, so we don't have this crappy merc healing. We've got a strong tank, things like that. We do a hell of a lot more DPS. It gets done a hell of a lot faster. It's just the nature of the beast when it's me doing it by myself. And the other part is, if it was a normal group, we'd have gone in and fought this one. Oh, it's still fake. Okay. Wasn't paying enough attention. We'd have gone in and fought this fake one here, because when you got multiple people playing the tunes, it's much easier for people to run away and get away if it swaps and it becomes the real one there. Whereas when I'm boxing, particularly since I've got my SK out there fighting, so he's not on auto follow yet, it's a little harder, and a merc involved, it's a little harder for me to get everything away without doing enough damage to the boss mob that he then wants to start summoning. So that's one of the reasons I wait until the next swap. As you can see, I ignore this aura. Not that I like being hit with the aura, because who does? But with working with 3 different tunes and all that, it's not that big of a hit
swaps places in 15
on the group
seconds.
version that I need to really worry about it. And I need to do some more damage here because I'm talking and didn't cast dots like I normally do on these. So we might wind up getting another swap before this guy's dead, which I generally don't allow to happen.
Move out of the aura.
Depends on how long after this the timer is now off. It depends on how long it takes before he actually spawns. Doing some stuff on the SK to build some hatred just in case. Okay, we got it done. Alright, so now let's head back and we will do spot 3 next. Again, that's regardless of what happens to be there now. I hope it's the real one. It is. So I just have to wait for the next swap rather than potentially having to wait through 2 swaps. Again, I'm going to try and truncate this if I can when once I'm finished, to get rid of some of these waiting periods.
All swaps places.
If you hear me say that, you know that didn't work. They slow, resisted, but that's okay. Now he's slowed.
Hop down.
I've got some shaman dots on it. Shaman's hitting candy. She's down around half a
Move out of
mana.
the aura.
Love how shamans have virtually unlimited spell casting at this point. When you add in spiritual channeling, by the time that runs out, I can be back up to full mana again. It's great. I mean, yes, I can run out of mana if I try, but I have to actually try. Or be not paying that much attention and let it run really low before I hit candy and that sort of thing. I'm not sure why I'm going a little slow on the damage today.
Move out of the aura.
Despite the buffs on
Boss swaps places in 15 seconds.
Normally, when we get that 15, he's down around 10%. But I've still got plenty of time, but like I said, I'm not sure what's causing it to go. Just seems to be just doing a little slow on damage today. Oh, might be because my SK's I went too far and is facing away from it. So the SK did no damage himself. His pet did. And I don't have my partial running right now, so I didn't see that little alert that he's only doing like 15,000 DPS, which is all the pet. Okay, so now I head over to spot 1. Don't even bother to look at what's spot 2, because I don't care what's a spot 2. I want it to wind up being the namer, or the main. And it's not. So, I'm going to have to wait again for a swap. The boss will come here. I'm going to wait then for another swap so I can head to spot 2 to kill the boss. Takes longer that way, but again, like I said, I will be tracking, and from spot 2, it's very easy for me to tell where he has moved to, since I don't kill the illusions. From spot 1, it's going to tell me that he's somewhere off to the east
Boss
of me to
swaps
begin with.
places.
So I head east, and he might be in any of the spots, and it's hardest to track him from spot 1. From spot 4, initially I can't really tell exactly where he is either, but by the time I get towards about where spot 3 is, he's either straight ahead or ahead and to the left. If he's straight ahead, he's at spot 3. If he's ahead and to the left, he's at spot 1 or 2. I run right past spot 2 to get to spot 1, so it's much easier. And it's also just the way I've been doing it, so I've gotten accustomed to doing it this way. Yeah, and I've got some wait time, so as I did before, I am going to refresh Melancholy, just because if I forget later or something like that, I mean, it's still got over 3 minutes on it, but, oops, I cast the wrong spell. When I've got time, I may as well refresh it, because in case I happen to forget later if something goes on odd. Possibility it happens, not the majority of the time by any means, but there definitely is a possibility that the merc tank is going to go down at some point. I'll pick up tanking with the SK if that
Boss
happens.
swaps places in 15
It's a lot
seconds.
more work for me when that happens, but the merc can do it. At this point, actually, I'm going to go ahead and take a lot of lag off of Puller so that no matter what, his cleric stays near him, and I'm taking the merc tank off of main tank, because when he's on main tank, he'll assist the main assist, but he'll also, any other mobs on aggro, he's going to try and run over to them and get on them so they can attack him. If he's not on main tank, he'll just concentrate on what he's assisting on. I do that so that when the tigers and the illusions, or not illusions, the flickering images come in, I prefer to have them hit my SK. And when the SK is, when those come in, I'll hit one of the area effect aggros, like Explosion of Hatred, things like that SKs have, to hopefully pull that mob onto him. So he takes a couple of hits. He's tough enough that he can take them. In fact, and I'm switching now to his one hand and shield, so he can take even more. So he takes those hits instead of it either going onto the
Boss swaps places.
the tank merc, and doing damage to him and making him more likely to get killed, or which can sometimes be worse if he starts hitting on the shaman. Is probably the worst one for him to hit, because he will, if he kills the shaman, I don't get him slowed, and then they wind up eating through the mercenaries. Now, it has happened before where that has happened to me, and using a token of resurrection, I've been able to get the shaman back up and pull through. But it was dicey. So, ideally, I get
Move out of the aura.
those ads that are going to be happening here in a little while. I get them hitting, like I said, my SK who can take those hits, and I don't have to worry about anybody dying. The other thing I do from this point forward, the SK has attack turned on. The reason why is once the boss moves the illusions, sometimes he's going to summon. If he summons the SK is sitting there swinging his sword for a little bit of extra damage, if he happens to be facing him. He might summon the
Boss swaps
ranger.
places
He
in
might summon
15 seconds.
the
Move out of
shaman.
the aura.
It's hard to say what he's going to summon. And sometimes he doesn't summon at all. I personally like it when he summons the SK, because the SK can take the hits, and when he summons the SK's mercenary goes with him, which is a cleric, and he can easily keep him alive because it's already slowed and all that, until I get there with backups. Again, I'm killing kind of slow here, which is bothering me, but we should be okay. But we're still at 15%. That timer's gone off. So if it switches and the name comes here, or the boss comes here, I'll be a little annoyed.
Move out of the aura.
Shit happens. 1%. There we go. Now everything's done. Dead. We go to the boss. Okay, now on the boss. I've got a few seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and hit, because everybody got damage. I'm going to hit heal over time before I do anything else. There we go. Now I'm sending in the shaman's pet. They're slow. Hit those first two heal damage over time. Turn on the ranger's bow. Hit a few things there. The SK is now targeted on him, casting dots on him, sending in his pet on him. Basically making sure that he's on the hatred list as well. Even though he's not at the top right now, that's the Banshee Defender's obviously at the top. Now he's second. The Shaman was at second place to begin with. Okay, there's the first of the flickering images, and it went straight to the SK, which is what I like, because like I said, the SK can easily eat those hits. Oh, he switched to Gaga, but that's okay. He's slowed now, so he's fine. Yeah, they don't have a lot of hit points. They don't stay up very long, but they can do some damage. That time I got lucky. I didn't even have to slow that tiger. It got the proc off Melancholy, which is one of the reasons I keep that on there. Oh shit. Hit a wrong button there. Put myself on auto run. Oh, I hate when that happens. The tiger just came up and then just disappeared. Unless it happened to hit something, swipe at something that Melancholy proc. Sometimes that causes an issue when tigers come and disappear. There's not one on track now, so that must be what happened. There's another flickering image. Taunting. Hatred. There's back on name. Exactly what I want. I'm not worried about doing too awfully much speed-wise damage on him right now. It's more about just keeping in control of what's happening so that I don't suddenly get overwhelmed. As I said earlier, I'm tracking him right now. I'm facing straight at spot 3. So if he's straight ahead, he'll be at spot 3. If he's to the right, maybe to the head and to the right, he'll be at spot 4. Turn a little more that way. And if he's to the left, he's going to be at spot 1. That's why I choose this spot. It makes it easy for me to tell where he's going. Okay, that is on the SK. Even though I did it just a few minutes ago, I'm going to go ahead and redo Melancholy now while we do this. Partly because the healing portion of it procs as you get hit, and it only does a total of 240 of those, and I have no way of telling how many are left on the tank. So if I refresh it, he gets 240 again. There's a tiger. Tiger's gone. I also have my pets are on the boss. I don't know if I said that yet or not.
Move out of the aura.
Another aura to ignore. I also like to get him, and I'm going to refresh dots, with the exception of the long-term dots. I will refresh them as he gets close to 22 where he locks, so that when he does move, he's still getting most of this damage going on him. So that once I do catch up with him, he's still been taking damage that whole time. And then when he gets to 7, same thing happens again. I make sure all my dots are nice and refreshed.
Move out of the aura.
Because he's a 22, so I'm turning off attack now, just because I don't want it to make it so I can't tell which direction he's in when he does move. May get another tiger or another image before he moves. And also, because they're available, refreshing. Oh shit, that temporary. Fuck, it's tiger. That tiger just fucked me. Alright, so name is getting on. Shit. Oh, my screen got all fucked up. Okay, name is now taking over his tank.
Move out of the aura.
Hot down.
Even though he's tank, I again have him auto-following, so he's just getting hit. I have him auto-following the ranger. Again, so that when this guy warps here in a second, there he goes. He's ahead and to the right. Straight ahead. He is in spot 4. I am almost 100% certain. Yes. He is in spot 4. So I'm hauling ass to spot 4. He summoned the shaman, which here's where things can get dicey. Because he summoned the shaman and that tank's not back anymore, it's possible the shaman dies. She didn't, fortunately.
Move out of the aura.
Trying to get aggro back. There, I got aggro back on him. Sort of glad that that merc went down in a way just so that you see how I can react to that. And I use the merc just because it's easier. It's easier to control who's got aggro from what at what time without getting anybody getting aggro from everything all at once.
Move out of the aura.
Move out of the aura.
Oh yeah, so he's dropping down to 7% now. So I'm going to refresh track. I'm going to tell the SK to auto follow again, which means he shows the backs of the mob, but that's okay. The tiger that I didn't notice until too late last time and really screwed me up. Just came. Let's see if I can actually be nice here. And there we go. Now he's facing it. So now he's going to take a lot less damage.
Move out of the aura. Move out of the aura.
Again, standing here through the aura, because screw your aura. Gonna hit Canny because I can. Okay, he has moved. Let's figure out where he's gone. Saying he's to the right, ahead and to the right. He may be in spot 3. He is not. Looking at spot 2. He is not. Everybody is still auto-following, which means he hasn't summoned unless he summoned a merc. There he is. There he summoned Lotalag. Here he is at spot 1. Again, I'm trying to get the tank to take aggro again. There he goes. And then I just have to kill him. And this part's easy. Look at that. It's a slow way of doing it. I'm currently at 41 minutes. Now, some of that was the time I spent at the beginning kind of talking about what I do and all that.
Move out of the aura.
Damn. He really hates my shaman, or my, what's it called right now? My ranger. There we go. Now I got his hatred down a little bit. Well, it helps if I have. I'm not sure I had attack turned on or not, but you know, the ranger was causing a lot of hatred there for I don't know what reason. But anyway, and then we're done. Now it's just a case of opening up the chest, and I have to do some tasks add and that sort of thing because there's only 3 tunes here, plus I have a 4th one already in the task, so I have to get some alts in and that kind of thing to open the chest. Not going to actually hold the recording going for this, but one of the things I do, one of the ones I'm inviting is a chanter. I have him turn on his learner's aura before I open the chest, because that 5% bonus on experience from a learner's aura also applies to when you open the chest. I know a lot of chanters don't use it anymore because they'd rather use things that do better DPS and debuffs and that kind of thing for their auras. But when you're at something like this where you're not actually doing a fight anymore, take the 10 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it is, to fire up that aura and get that little extra experience. So there it is. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any ideas that might make it better, by all means. I am not a proud person. Well, I guess I am proud, but I'm not a touchy person. So if you say, dude, you idiot, why didn't you? I'm fine with that. So please feel free to make comments like that. I'd be glad to see them. Thank you.